All right, so I wanted to talk about um, our discussion this past week, talking about LGBT individuals and just the different counseling considerations. And it's funny, like I've had some experiences recently. Particularly, I think the one thing that stood out to me the most in our lesson was the fact that LGBT individuals, particularly lesbian and gay and bisexual individuals, the coming out process is an ongoing process. And I think that is something that I didn't fully realize until maybe within the past few weeks. And it was funny because like it came up in the lesson. It was like, oh, it's funny to like experience that or to like see that and then to, find that in the classroom as well. I think that's really cool. And so I have a friend, and she's gay, and we went out to the beach with some friends this weekend. And on the way back, we went to this one restaurant in a small North Carolina town. And I remember, it was just this past weekend, but she told me, after we left the restaurant that, she feels really uncomfortable in small towns, and that when she was there in that restaurant, she felt like, when she would go to the bathroom or like other things, like she felt like she had all these eyes on her, and she dresses pretty, what we would consider masculine, and has very short hair, and so I don't know, people give her looks, and it was just interesting to hear that. And then also, like, she's told me that she's making plans this summer to come out to her family and to tell them about her girlfriend that she is considering marrying, within the next 2 years or so, and just how terrified she is of that. And their reactions, and that, that I think she's comfortable. I know she's comfortable with herself, but she was telling me, she was like, like we're planning on getting married and we want that to be a happy day. And it's one of those things that I consider myself straight, and it's really frustrating and hard to hear, LGBT individuals, like, that they have the things that I think I take for granted as a straight woman, as far as, if I talk about somebody I'm dating, most of the time people are really eager to ask. In fact, today, I was getting my teeth cleaned, and I was talking, like, my dental hygienist just casually asked me, so, like, what are you planning on doing this weekend? And I was like, I'm going hiking. And she's like, oh, cool, where are you going? And I told her, and she was like, oh, so are you going with a guy? And I was like, no, I'm going with a friend. And I casually accidentally said my girlfriend instead of a girlfriend. And it was interesting because she didn't really have much of a response to it. And I don't know, like, it made me think about the fact that, like, LGBT individuals, when they mention, like, maybe they're dating somebody or they're interested in somebody, it's sad because at times, and this isn't the case for everybody, but at times it's sad because they have to be very careful of how they talk about that and who they tell that to, because not everybody is going to respond in an eager, excited, or interested way, like, that I think I take for granted a lot of the time being straight. I don't have to worry about public display of affection and how people might receive that. I don't have to worry about, telling my parents that I'm dating somebody. And I think, regardless of sexual orientation, sometimes that can be a touchy subject, but I think it's really something I take for granted. And I don't have to worry about conflict with my beliefs in that. Now, my friend who is gay, that that I was, just talking about, she has had a really difficult history with her faith and her sexuality and being out. When she was younger, when I think she was a teenager, she unfortunately went through conversion therapy, and I think she still struggles with those experiences, and the fact that like literally part of that was these people saying that God hates you, he hates that you're gay, and the fact that she still goes to church pretty much every Sunday. She's a very faithful person. She'll wear her bow tie to service, and she tells me that she gets looks, but just her resilience and her bravery to continue to be authentically who she is in all facets, and to not deny or close off any part of herself is just extraordinary. And I don't know if I would have the strength to do that if I had those experiences that she's had. So I don't know, it's frustrating to me how I don't experience that kind of friction. I don't experience that kind of condemnation that she's experienced just because I happen to be attracted to the opposite sex rather than the same sex. And that I date people of the opposite sex rather than people of the same sex. And it's something that I wish was not so contentious in our culture. And that, and it's something that I hope someday, that it will be, I feel like at this point in time, for a lot of individuals, not all, and again, like experiences vary, but I feel like for some individuals, it's something that once it's known, it is something that is like almost overshadows other parts of a person's identity, whether they want it to or not. Sometimes that's, when they're interacting with other people, sometimes that is, when people find that out, that's kind of the lens that they see that person through. And I think I'm guilty of that because, when we go back to like what is normal and what, I think like thinking about heteronormativity and the fact that when we think about, when we meet somebody, we don't automatically assume that they're gay. We usually assume that they're straight, or we don't assume that they're asexual or demisexual or pansexual. We assume that they are straight. And so that, I don't know, it's interesting. And I think that's another thing that comes up in counseling. And we mentioned that it's like assumptions can so get in our way of understanding who a person fully is. But anyways, thanks.